Hey, Muffin here. Welcome back. Subscriber request. I normally do nation versus nation, kind of a mix or like showdowns between different tanks. And another one to throw into the mix is monsters versus fantasy tanks. Now, we've typically done monsters versus nations, like monsters versus Russian bias, monsters versus German engineering, but now we're gonna see how monsters do against fantasy tanks. And what I mean by fantasy tanks, there was some confusion when I had made the announcement through my Discord. By the way, if you want to join, all is welcome to join in the vids. Join my Discord, get the movie crew roll, and if you want to put together your own room, invite one of the staff members from my server. They can be there for support, credibility. You can actually put together your own rooms regardless of what server you're on, and then put together the replays, and your vid could be posted on the channel. So anyway, the monster tanks, typically when going against the nations, have always won. They always have this very OP mentality. So by fantasy tanks, what I mean is like the Warhammer tanks and the Chronicle tanks. Now, unfortunately, we didn't have anyone that had the Nameless, the Edelweiss. Those were other tanks that did count and people could have played in this challenge. And somehow the WZ Blaze fit into this, which is kind of an awkward tank because it's not like a real tank, and it's not a fantasy tank necessarily, like a Warhammer tank or a Chronicles tank. It almost, I'm not really sure, it doesn't really fit anywhere, so kind of awkwardly just fit into this category. So we know the Smasher's pretty powerful, and we're gonna see how the fantasy tanks do up against the monster tanks now. Now, so far, things are not looking too good for the monster tanks. Maybe getting a taste of their own medicine. And for once, too, typically it's the monster tanks that are always doing the dominating. Fantasy tanks coming around the corner, really putting him in a bad spot, getting some good shots off. An unfortunate bounce from that Smasher. Holy cow. And that is it. The fantasy tanks have won the first round. We're going to do best out of 3. Well, I guess I shouldn't have called it too soon. Who knows? Maybe that Lycan could have made a comeback. So first round, the fantasy tanks won, and we'll see who can now pull through in the second round. Thank you to all those that helped. We did have a mix of people. We were able to switch around, hoping that everyone was able to get a turn. Now this map is going to be a little difficult for these Vindicators. Some YouTubers I've heard really hate the Vindicator. I actually don't mind it. Pretty derpy. Someone had mentioned in this vid that when we were doing this battle, that it looks like the Stroom Tiger. Totally does. I mean, it has this cartoony, massive cannon. Now, it only does an average of 640, the Stroom Tiger. The dimensions of its cannon, it would probably do more like 3,000 damage, just for how ridiculously huge. And I think that thing shot more of like rockets, but anyway. Town seems to be the choice of where both have decided, which honestly isn't too bad of a place. The Vindicators will do much better in this area. Looks like one already taken out. Smasher not having a lot of gun depression, so this could be a decent area for these tanks. However, a little bit of a dangerous area for the tanks like the Dracula. Now, for me, I am much more of a fan of the real tanks, the tanks that like historically existed. The ones in blueprints, yeah, like they actually have some, just the fact that they were in blueprints and like historically planned. I think those are my favorite types of tanks. Honestly, I'm not a big fan of monster or fantasy tanks, but there's a lot of people that like them, so had to throw it in here. Was a subscriber request, and so I have fun playing with them every once in a while. I do own them, but I am much more of a bigger fan when it comes to the realism side of things. So the score is tied. We now have 1 win for fantasy and 1 win for monster tanks. Now, this one is for all the trophies, and which side is going to be the winning side? You'll have to let me know your votes and what you think before the end of this battle, and which one you think is going to win. Now, pretty good place here, trying to get some eyes on any of the targets, especially a lot of the time they'll cross over on that very far side, going up toward the mill. And it's a great area to try and get some eyes. Looks like one of the Vindicators. Now, I think I had mentioned Predator when I was referring actually to the Vindicator. I think I might have got that mixed up when I was talking in the last video, but both of them don't have very good gun depression. Now, Dracula is quite an insane tank. It has probably the best engine power to weight ratio of any tank in the game. I think its engine power to weight ratio is like 40 point something. All right, the score is even. 1 dead on each side. Great shot there. And I want to give a shout out to Garion. Thank you so much for helping to put this vid together for you guys. I've actually been having some of my awesome subscribers help with putting vids together, creating thumbnails. Once again, it is you guys that make this awesome channel. Yeah, that cupola on top can be quite frustrating for that Vindicator. And this is looking like it may be a pretty good game. So far, the fantasy tanks are in the lead. Garion evens the score. Now that Lupus tank is a fairly well-armored tank. Now this is great what he's doing here, trying to use more of that maneuverability, get himself to a position to get unspotted so he could use that maneuverability to come back in, spot the enemy in a surprise fashion and get some shots off before they can turn and focus on him. Ooh, miss there. Ooh, unfortunate bounce. Gotta be careful. Lupus is coming up and was able to get out of there just in time. How intense. I was even getting stressed while watching this. Wow, and you see the shell explosion over on the side. Gotta be careful of this autoloader. Hate it when that happens when you're a light tank trying to fly around and flank, and then you end up getting stuck on a wall. Oh, fortunate miss there. Now he's got to take this. He's got to take out this predator, hopefully soon enough before this Lupus could come in. Monster side already losing faith. And wow, it is down 1v1. Really good game. Minute 50 on the clock. Another great shot there. Now this is tough. The Dracula has the maneuverability. Lupus has the armor. Oh, and close. Oh, and the fantasy tanks had won against the monsters. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the vid. This is the Muffin here. Stay cool and keep tanking.